On a busy day, how many times you reuse the oil for deep frying?
About 30 times, 30 to 40 times.
请问你多长时间换一次油呢？
我是3天换一次。
老板娘，你是多长时间换一次油的呢？
每个拜五了。
I see that you do deep frying.
Yeah.
How often do you change your oil?
Twice a week,
How many batches of food do you cook before you change your oil?
around like 300 portions.
Recently, Talking Point received this email from viewer Haryadi. He says he's worried about the reusing of cooking oil at food establishments in Singapore. He wants to know how often they are reusing their oil, because he wonders if there is a health impact and wants us to investigate.
Well, Haryadi, this episode of Talking Point is for you.
I couldn't find any official data on how often hawkers change their cooking oil, so we are conducting our very own Talking Point survey. My producers spread out across the island, hitting over 80 hawker stalls that sell deep-fried foods.
So we found out that all hawkers reuse their oil.
14% reuse it once or twice. 29% reuse their oil 3 to 4 times. More than half reuse their oil 5 times or more. To find out how this practice of reusing cooking oil is affecting us, we collected reused oil from some of the hawkers. Half of the 10 samples of oils collected were reused 2 to 3 times. The other half were reused 5 or more times. I'm sending all of these oils to be tested in a lab. Two days later, I'm back for the results.
I'm curious for the results. Tell me.
Okay, so for the oil that we receive from you, we have found what we call oxidized fats. So these will actually have harmful effects. If you consume more, it will actually increase your heart health risk. We also found some aldehydes in the oil, and aldehydes are said to be carcinogenic.
So the million-dollar question is, for the oils that were used 2 to 3 times versus those that were used more than 5 times, was there a difference?
So if you can see this chart over here, these are oil that used only after 1 time of frying. You can see the aldehyde peaks is actually lower. That means it has lower concentrations. And this is after the oil being used for 5 times. For the oil that have been reused more than 5 times, we found that the aldehyde detected in the oil are almost double of those that are used 2 to 3 times.
Wow, and aldehydes are the ones that could cause cancer.
Yes.
I don't want to eat cancer along with my chicken. So how do I know when it gets really bad for me?
We are laymen, consumers. We can't be doing the experiments in the lab to detect the aldehydes, using machines. We can actually observe what we call the smoke points of the oil.
What does it look like, smoke point?
Okay, so if we actually heat the oil to a very high temperature, which hit what we call the smoke point, the film will start to form on the surface. Okay, you can start seeing the smoke, and that is when all the aldehydes will start to come out.
I'm seeing it. I'm seeing the fumes coming out. The moment I see smoke coming out of the oil, that means it's bad news, or it has to be a sustained release of the smoke.
Yeah, it will have to be sustained release of the smoke. That's when all the harmful compounds are formed.
So the more times the oil is reused, the more quickly the oil will reach the smoke point.
Smoke point.
Each round of frying brings the oil's original smoke point down by about 10 to 15%, meaning the dirtier the oil, the faster it reaches smoke point.
So you're going to see me at the hawker center going like this, like this.
So there's actually another way for you to actually tell whether the oil has been reused multiple times. We have actually 10 samples that we received from you. Can you guess which are the oils that has been used for multiple times based on color?
So I would say like this one, which looks actually like soy sauce.
Yeah.
This one looks like fish sauce. This one looks like Chinese wine. So maybe the darker color ones have been used many times.
Yeah, absolutely right. So these are the oil that have been used for more than 5 times. And that's when the colors start to change. And you can see that the rest of the oil here, they have been used probably 2 to 3 times. So the color hasn't changed much.
Our experiment showed that the oils that were reused just 2 to 3 times had already broken down to form cancer-causing compounds. But these compounds had doubled in oils used more than 5 times. I need to get the hawkers to change their ways, so I'm confronting them with our test results.
Hi, quick question.
The talking point test on reused oil taken from some of our hawkers shows they contain cancer-causing compounds. Do hawkers know this?
The results of our test shows that oil that has been reused 2 to 3 times compared to oil that has been reused more than 5 times, which is your case, right?
Yeah.
The amount of unhealthy stuff in it increases by a lot.
Okay.
And over the long term, it could potentially affect the consumer's health.
I'm feeling healthy for now, and I've seen many elderly people eating kway teow with fish balls, fried fish balls. They are healthy. They choose to eat that food, knowing that it's tasty.
But knowing what you do now, will it change your mind about changing the oil more frequently?
No, I won't. You told me that if I use deep frying 5 times, the bacteria will be more compared to 2 times. So example, in that hour, I have like 10 orders, and then you can't expect me to change for every 6th order, because it's going to affect us. In businesses, cost is very important. And also the time. Imagine I take some time to change the oil, and it takes time to heat up. Customers, they want fast food. If not, they will be angry, and I'll lose my customers.
Our lab tests show that oil that has been reused more than 5 times is a lot unhealthier compared to oil that has been reused 2 to 3 times.
Being in a hawker, if we understand the knowledge on how the oils are processed and how frequently we should change to adapt to a healthier lifestyle, definitely that would be a very, very good information for all hawkers.
So knowing what you do now, will that change the way you operate your stall?
Being in a hawker, people expect us to sell less than $10. If people are willing to actually pay a bit of a higher price, then yes, definitely a good try.
听了我们这样的一个报告呢，您会不会考虑在比较短的时间内换一次油呢？
不可以再换的啊！对
为什么？
一直这个油我们是一直炸下去的，因为客人一直吃这个油条等不及，他是做工嘛。因为这个时间我们没有时间去换那个油，等我炸下去得换这个新油的。
可以尽量改进哦，不要太多天，尽量1天就换掉，成本很重。
There is no official health guideline on how often hawkers should change their cooking oil. It doesn't help that cooking oil prices have gone up by 14.6% over the past 5 years. Most of the hawkers I spoke to say it takes too long to change their oil. Just how tedious is it? It's 3.5 hours before Yazid Alwi's Western food stall opens for business. And today is the day he's going to change his oil.
Yazid!
Hey, hi, you are here.
Yes.
Hi, for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's 3.5 hours before you start business. Why do you need to come so early?
Changing oil takes quite some time. You will find out today.
This is the reason why Yazid is changing the oil today.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so honestly, Yazid, it looks a bit black to me. How long have you been using this oil?
It's about 10 to 12 days.
Let's do it.
Okay. First and foremost, we can only change the oil the next day because if we change when the oil is hot, it's pretty dangerous. You see all these battle scars? These are just splashes of oil when cooking. Just imagine it splashes on you.
No, I don't want to imagine that. It's horrifying. It's
Yeah,
horrifying.
Okay, open the drain pipe slowly.
Oh, how long does it take for you to drain all 20 liters?
But this draining itself, maybe 10 minutes.
So a 20-liter fryer like this, when it's hot, how long will it take for the oil to cool down?
I have to wait for at least 4 hours.
Alamak.
Yeah. If not, it's very dangerous.
And can you afford to wait 4 hours when the stall is running?
I don't think so. Okay, so... Yeah,
And you
can
have
see-
to wash this.
You see all these sediments on the batter, you need to dig out.
Do you need to clean this part?
Yes, I have to do it manually. Yeah, see?
Oh
Yeah,
my
there.
gosh. This is
Yeah.
after how long?
10 days, around there.
Oh man.
When I say this is the hardest,
That cannot possibly come from food.
burn carbon.
Let me help you. I gotta do this,
Yeah,
okay?
sure.
Because sometimes I think so easy for us to say change. Ooh. Oh, now we introduced the new tool.
Scoop it up.
Oh,
This is how I will end it. Faster this way.
oh. Yazid, this feels like a bottomless pit.
I think you had the feel of it, right?
I definitely have more than a
Okay.
feel of it. My goodness.
Okay, we're going to hose down all the balance sediments that you cannot dig out.
Got it.
It takes about 3-4 pills to drain out everything. Yeah.
It's a lot of work. Here, we both deserve it. Yazid, I've seen how tedious it can be to change the oil, but I still have to ask, is it possible for you to change the oil every day?
It will be a punishment for me to do that. I'll be losing money because as it is now, oil is not cheap nowadays. But depend on the need. If the volume is so high, if I need to change, I have to.
I see. So it's really just depending on your sales.
Yep.
In reality, it's difficult for hawkers to change their practices. Then perhaps it's up to us to be more discerning about the deep-fried food we buy. We've invited 3 fried food lovers and Talking Point viewers. They're going to help me with an experiment to find out if we can tell by sight, smell, and taste if a food has been fried in oil that's been reused multiple times. Also helping us, hawker Habib.
Mostly we never keep over next day. This is for your experience, we doing these things.
Habib will be frying one batch of curry puffs in fresh oil, another batch in oil that has been reused 3 times, and a final batch in oil that's been reused 10 times.
Okay, guys, you are in for a treat. Here's curry puff sample number 1. Let's dig in. It was very crispy, but it was slightly oily. Let's rate the curry puffs. Okay, let's move on to curry puff number 2.
It's actually better tasting than the first one.
I would say more aromatic than the first one. This one has a very nice punch to it, better than the first.
Okay, let's score it. I think it's safe to say that curry puff sample number 2 has done better. Now that you've cleansed your palates with some water, here's curry puff number 3. Go for it.
There's a lot of oil. I find this much oilier than the other two.
I think this one is a little harder to eat.
When it's so oily, it makes you harder to eat.
Let's score the curry puffs. Wow, you don't really like curry puff number 3.
No, it's the worst of the lot.
Okay. Okay, fried food lovers, here's the reveal. Curry puff 1 was deep fried in oil that has been used 3 times. Curry puff number 2 was fried in fresh oil. So it was the first batch of oil. You look mighty pleased. I want to know why you're so happy.
It's the curry puff I love the most. And to know that it was cooked in fresh oil makes it feel extra special when I eat it.
And curry puff number 3. How many times do you think this oil has been used?
Is it 2 times?
How many times?
5.
5 times?
6.
6 times. This has been reused 10 times.
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness.
And you were able to tell the difference. Was it hard?
From the first bite, it's clear that curry puff number 3 just tastes like oil.
I think in normal circumstances, it's quite difficult to tell the difference. But the third one is very clear cut. Because it was very, very oily. Because the oil was used 10 times, it will affect the taste of the food.
Frying with old oil will cause any type of food to taste acrid and greasy. Our hawkers aren't the only ones reusing their cooking oil. We asked you how many times you are using a batch of cooking oil at home. 600 viewers responded. 46% say you use your oil only once before discarding it. 38% reuse it 2 to 3 times. 4% of you reuse the oil more than 4 times. 11% of you use the oil until it turns dark. Does cooking at home mean we can reuse the oil more often than those frying in bigger batches like our hawkers? Like many of us, professional chef Lynette Fu reuses her oil for deep frying too.
Hey, Lynette.
I want to know how we should reuse oil in a way that won't affect the taste of food or our health.
50% of our respondents say that they reuse their deep frying oil 2 to 3 times, and some even more. Considering that we actually cook in smaller batches at home, can we reuse the oil?
Yes, it is possible because you are actually cooking in such small batches compared to the commercial establishments. There are certain factors you have to, I guess, remember. One of them is the temperature. Usually I'm frying at around 175 to 190 degrees. Otherwise, the oil might start to degrade if you go above that.
Deep frying at a slightly lower temperature will allow you to reuse the oil again, as not much cancer-causing compounds would have formed.
All right, tip number 2.
Well, you want to make sure that your oil is clean. So I have prepared some oil here that's been used 2 or 3 times already.
I do see some food particles.
Yes,
in there.
exactly. So what I do is that I just wait for it to cool down, and then I tip it over and I filter it into a mesh. Because if you keep it in there, the next time I use it to fry, most likely those particles are going to stick to whatever you're frying next. So for the aesthetic reason also, you don't want to have little bits of food sticking to your next piece of food, and also the taste will transfer as well. So after you filtered out the oil, it is important to store it in a cool, dark place just to make sure that the oil doesn't degrade further.
This prevents the used oil from further oxidizing and turning rancid.
Also, I think it's very important what type of food you are frying. For example, if you are frying very pungent meats, highly marinated, let's say with cumin or garam masala, when you fry that and you use the oil again, the chances are the smell of what you have marinated that with is going to be absorbed into the next thing that you're going to fry.
Does it work if I move from something that is milder tasting, for example, potatoes? I use the oil one time for potatoes, and then I use that oil for something that is stronger taste.
Yes, I would recommend that. And after that, you probably want to stop using your oil.
So what you fry also matters. As it turns out, food scientist Richard Kaur conducted another experiment for us. He's fried a batch of potato chips and a batch of fried chicken in used oil.
Oh, it smells so good.
Smell nice, right?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to know what we found in the lab?
Yes,
between
please.
these two items here, fried chickens and fried potato? Which one do you think is actually more unhealthy?
Definitely the chicken.
Okay, so you're right. We found actually double of the aldehydes as well as free fatty acids in the fried chicken's oil as compared to the fried potatoes oil. You can see from the results here, this is the potatoes after being used for 5 times, and then this is for the chicken. It's almost double.
Okay, so what I want to know now is why is it that the chicken produce more aldehydes?
Because for the potato chips here or fried potatoes, you only use single ingredients and it's purely carbohydrate. But for the fried chickens, we have added, the batter, the flour, the eggs, as well as, the chicken skins have additionals of fats. So you actually mix new fats to the oil, and then that's when you find more actually other aldehydes as well as free fatty acids. In addition to that, when you have all these more complex ingredients, the flour, the eggs, they may actually have some debris left in the oil, which interact with the oil even further, and that causes the deteriorations or damage of the oil even faster.
Does it mean that at home, if I really must deep fry my vegetables, I should just keep the oil for deep frying vegetables? I might be able to use it a couple of times. Just don't mix it with deep frying meats, for example.
Yes, you're right. So for home cooking, if you are using it for continuous or repeated frying of single ingredients like vegetables or potatoes, yes, you can reuse the oil for 2 to 3 times. You can keep it aside. For fried chicken, maybe you should just discard the oil after 1 use.
Thank you, Machi. So, it turns out there is a way to safely reuse your deep frying oil. Does this mean that I'll stop buying deep fried foods from hawker centers? Absolutely not. But it does mean that I will be more vigilant in eyeballing the oil that my food has been cooked in. And if it doesn't taste right, chances are it's been cooked in oil that has been reused one too many times.